Hey there, my friend. I'm so glad you're here. Seriously, whether you've clicked on this because you're curious, confused, or just deep in the trenches of overthinking every little interaction with your crush, welcome. You're in good company, because today we're talking about a topic that pretty much everyone can relate to. It's that age-old question we've all asked ourselves, sometimes with excitement, other times with frustration, and often with a bit of fear mixed in. Do they like me? Or am I just imagining this? You know what I mean, right? One day they're smiling a little more than usual. They linger in the hallway. They text you out of nowhere. You start thinking, okay, maybe they're into me. And then the next day, radio silence, nothing. And now you're lying in bed, scrolling back through your messages, analyzing punctuation like you're solving a crime scene. Look, I get it. I've been there. We've all been there. And it's exhausting. Because there's no official manual for decoding attraction. Most people won't just come right out and say it, especially if they're shy, uncertain, or afraid of messing up a friendship. But here's the good news. Human behavior leaves breadcrumbs. People show interest in subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways. You just need to know what to look for. And once you do know, the guessing game becomes a lot less stressful and a lot more empowering. So today we're going to walk through 8 signs your crush likes you, not just random assumptions or wishful thinking, but real behavioral signs that come from emotional connection, interest, and yes, attraction. And as we go through them, I want you to remember one thing. This isn't about turning yourself into someone else to get someone to like you back. This is about being aware, being intentional, and most of all, being confident in your own value. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's break it down step by step. Because if they are into you, it's time you stopped guessing and started recognizing the signs. Let's dive in. One of the clearest signs that someone likes you, genuinely likes you, is that they make time for you. Not just when it's convenient, not just when they're bored or need a distraction, but even when life is busy, messy, or overwhelming. Because the truth is, in today's world, everyone is busy. We're all juggling commitments, work, deadlines, social lives, and a dozen distractions vying for our attention every hour of the day. So when someone chooses to carve out space for you in the middle of all that chaos, that's not random. That's deliberate. You'll notice it in the small ways first. They text you not just to respond, but to initiate. They send a message just to say, hey, I was thinking about you. They find excuses to start a conversation, even if there's no urgent reason to reach out. They ask how your day was, not because they feel obligated, but because they actually care. They remember your schedule. They ask about the thing you mentioned last week. They check in, not just out of politeness, but because something in them genuinely wants to stay connected with you. And it doesn't stop with messages. When someone really likes you, they want to see you. Even if it means rearranging their day a little, they make an effort. Even when time is limited, they try to squeeze in a quick call, a coffee, a walk, anything, just to share space with you. That effort isn't accidental. That's emotional investment. Here's the key. People prioritize what matters to them. If someone's making consistent, intentional time for you, even in small doses, they're saying with their actions, you matter to me. And that speaks louder than any romantic line ever could. Now, it's not about them being available 24/7. Life happens. But when someone likes you, they don't just disappear without explanation. They communicate, they show up, and even when they can't, they let you know they wish they could. Because liking someone isn't just about attraction, it's about interest, effort, and the willingness to let someone into your world even when it's inconvenient. So if you're sitting there wondering if your crush might feel the same, start with this question. Are they making time for you? If the answer is yes, that's not just a coincidence, that's a sign. A meaningful one. One of the most quietly powerful signs that someone is truly interested in you is that they remember the little things. I'm not talking about the obvious stuff, your name, your favorite color, or your job title. I'm talking about those tiny, seemingly throwaway details that you didn't even realize you shared until they bring them back up. It could be that one random night when you casually mentioned your favorite childhood snack. Or maybe you told them about an old song that always makes you feel something, or how your dog has this weird habit of spinning in circles before he eats. You weren't making a grand announcement. You were just being yourself, letting small pieces of your life slip into conversation. But if they remember, that matters. When someone likes you, they pay attention differently. They listen with more than just their ears. They listen with curiosity, with care, with intention. Because they're not just collecting facts about you. They're building a mental scrapbook of who you are, one moment at a time. And when they bring up something you said weeks ago, something you barely even remember saying, it hits different. That moment says, you're not just another conversation. I'm actually invested. Sometimes it's practical. They'll remember your coffee order, the name of your sister, or that you have a big deadline coming up. Other times, it's emotional. They'll remember what makes you light up, what frustrates you, what dreams you whispered quietly when you didn't think anyone was really listening. And when they reflect those things back to you, not to impress you, but just because they genuinely remembered, it creates trust, it makes you feel seen, because in a world full of distractions, remembering the small things is a big thing. Anyone can make a grand gesture, but not everyone can notice the subtle details, the kind that say, I'm actually paying attention when you speak. And that kind of presence, that kind of emotional attentiveness is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. So if you're wondering whether your crush is into you, ask yourself this: do they recall the little things you say, the parts of you that most people overlook? If the answer is yes, don't underestimate what that means. It's not just interest, that's intimacy starting to form, one remembered detail at a time. There's something about teasing that, when done right, becomes one of the most telling and underrated signs of attraction. But let's get something clear right from the start. I'm not talking about sarcasm that cuts or jokes that make you question yourself. I'm talking about playful teasing, the kind that makes you laugh, lowers your guard, and builds that light, flirty tension between you and someone you're into. You know what I mean? Those cheeky comments that make you say, hey, stop, while secretly hoping they don't. When someone likes you, they often don't dive headfirst into vulnerability. That's scary. So what do they do instead? They test the waters through humor. Teasing becomes a way of dancing close to the line without crossing it. It's safe, but still intimate. And when done with the right tone, kind eyes, a smile, a little nudge, it's not just fun, it's connection in disguise. You might notice they joke about your weird coffee order or make fun of the way you always take 10 minutes to respond to a simple text. They'll point out how competitive you get during a game or playfully mock your favorite movie, all while smiling, watching you, waiting to see how you react. And when you tease back, that's when it really starts to spark. But here's the key. Teasing from someone who genuinely likes you never feels mean. It never leaves you feeling small. Instead, it feels like being pulled into a private joke that two of you share, a moment of tension that says, we're on the same wavelength. If it ever feels critical or like they're trying to lower your confidence to raise their own, that's not flirting. That's a red flag. But when it's light, when it's warm, when it's done in a way that makes both of you laugh, that's attraction in action. Flirtation isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it lives in those little jabs, those silly challenges, the way they try to get a reaction out of you just so they can see you smile. So if your crush finds ways to gently tease you, to play with you like it's your own secret language, pay attention, because that might not just be them being funny, that might be them falling for you. One cheeky comment at a time. One of the most overlooked and honestly endearing signs that someone likes you is nervousness. Not the Hollywood kind of nervousness where they fumble their coffee or stutter through a big speech. No, I'm talking about the subtle, very human signs that show up when someone's feelings are trying so hard to stay composed and just barely succeeding. When someone has a crush on you, there's something at stake. They care about how they come across. They want to be liked back. And that means their natural, confident rhythm might start to short circuit just a little when you're around. You'll see it in how they speak. Maybe they talk too fast, or they suddenly go quiet after being chatty with everyone else. You might catch them fidgeting, adjusting their clothes, tapping a foot, or laughing at something that wasn't even that funny just because you said it. Sometimes it's in their eyes. They'll hold eye contact a little too long or avoid it entirely. They're trying to act casual, but their body betrays their interest. That little shake in their voice, that's not weakness, that's investment. You make them care, and that caring is what turns normal conversation into something that feels like walking a tightrope for them. Now, here's the important part. Don't confuse nervousness with disinterest. In fact, the person who seems a little off, a little awkward, or a bit too on when you're around might just be feeling all the things you're hoping they are. and they're trying their best to hold it together. That kind of vulnerability, when you spot it, is beautiful. It's real. It's raw, and it's not something people fake. And let's be honest, we've all been that person. We've all stumbled over our words around someone we liked. We've all rehearsed texts, overanalyzed replies, and worried if we came off as cool or completely cringe. So when you see those signs in someone else, have a little empathy, maybe even encouragement. Because underneath that nervous energy is someone who thinks you're worth the risk of feeling a little foolish. So if you notice your crush acting slightly different around you, not polished, not perfect, but a little shaky and sweet, don't write it off. That nervousness, that's their heart showing its hand, and that might just be the clearest sign of all. One of the most fascinating and incredibly telling signs that someone likes you is something so natural, so instinctive, they probably don't even realize they're doing it. It's called mirroring. And no, this isn't some manipulative trick or conscious strategy. It's simply human psychology at work. When we're drawn to someone, when we admire them, feel safe around them, or want to be closer to them, we unconsciously start to reflect their behavior, energy, and presence. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself talking in the same tone as someone you're close to, picking up their phrases, laughing the way they laugh? That's mirroring, and it's one of the brain's ways of building rapport and emotional connection. So if your crush mirrors you, pay attention. If you lean in, they lean in. You speak softly, and suddenly they're speaking a little softer. You cross your legs, and a few seconds later, they've shifted too. These subtle shifts aren't about imitation. They're about alignment. Their nervous system is literally tuning itself to yours because they feel safe, because they feel connected. And whether they know it or not, their body is saying, I like being in sync with you. It doesn't stop with body language either. When someone mirrors your energy, you'll feel it emotionally. If you're excited, they get energized. If you're feeling low, they offer quiet presence instead of awkward distraction. They adjust to your vibe, not in a people-pleasing way, but in a way that shows attunement, that I see you, I feel you, I'm with you kind of presence. And it's powerful. This is one of those signs that's easy to overlook, especially when you're busy watching for more obvious signals. But mirroring isn't just a sign of attraction, it's a sign of emotional resonance. It means they're not just watching you, they're feeling with you. So if you catch your crush subtly reflecting your gestures, your tone, or even your rhythm, don't brush it off. It means they're paying attention to more than your words, they're tuned into you. And in a world of surface level connections, that kind of synchronicity, that's something special, something that goes beyond the physical and deep into emotional chemistry. One of the most meaningful signs that someone truly likes you is curiosity. I'm not talking about small talk. I'm not talking about them asking how your day was just to be polite. I'm talking about real curiosity, the kind that goes beyond surface level questions and says, I actually want to know you. When someone has a crush on you, their attention starts to expand beyond the version of you they see in front of them. They start to wonder, what's your story? What drives you? Who are you when no one's watching? And when they like you, they're not content with guessing. They ask. They lean in. They want to understand your world. You'll notice it in the way they ask questions. Not just, what do you do, but do you love what you do? Not just, do you have siblings, but what's your relationship like with them? They want to know what lights you up, what keeps you up at night, what matters to you. And they don't ask out of obligation. They ask because they're invested, because getting to know you feels exciting, not like work. You'll also feel it in the follow-up. They remember what you told them last week. They ask how your meeting went, how your mum's doing, if your trip was everything you hoped it would be. They don't forget the details because they're building a picture, piece by piece, of who you are beneath the surface. And here's the deeper truth. Curiosity is a form of intimacy. It's someone saying, I want to understand the parts of you the rest of the world doesn't see. It shows emotional availability, interest, and presence. Because let's be honest, anyone can flirt with charm. But curiosity, that's someone giving you their attention. That's someone making space for you in their mental world. So if your crush keeps finding reasons to ask questions, if they remember the things you say, and if they seem genuinely interested in the corners of your life that don't benefit them in any way, that's a sign, a beautiful one. Because when someone is curious about your life, what they're really saying is, you matter enough for me to want to know your whole story. And that, my friend, is something you don't fake. When someone likes you, really likes you, they don't just want to be part of your life, they want to bring you into theirs. And this is one of the most powerful and often underrated signs of romantic interest, because it takes vulnerability, it takes trust, and it's not something people do casually. You'll notice it in the way they start opening up their world to you bit by bit. Maybe they invite you to something that matters to them, a show, a family gathering, a game night with their friends. Maybe they start introducing you to people who are important in their life, not in a big dramatic way, but subtly, intentionally. They'll say things like, "You get along with my best friend," or "You have to try this place I always go to." That's not small talk, that's an invitation. Because what they're really doing is this: they're offering you access. They're letting you see what their life actually looks like when no one's trying to impress anyone. The places they go, the people they care about, the routines that make up their world. And in doing that, they're saying, I'm not just here to orbit around your life. I want you close enough to understand mine. This goes deeper than just social stuff. It's emotional too. They'll share memories, struggles, stories that don't always paint them in a perfect light. They'll talk about the things that shaped them, the dreams they're chasing, the moments that hurt. They're letting you in. And that kind of openness doesn't come from someone who's lukewarm about you. It comes from someone who's invested, someone who wants you to see them, not just date the version of themselves they show to everyone else. And here's the thing: when someone brings you into their world, it's not about impressing you, it's about connection. It's their way of saying, if you're going to be part of my life, I want you to know it. I want you to feel what it's like to be close to me. So if your crush starts sharing pieces of their life that feel real, unfiltered, and personal, that's not just kindness, that's not just comfort, that's someone showing you their world and hoping you'll want to stay in it. And finally, let's talk about proximity. One of the most quietly powerful signs your crush likes you is when they consistently find little ways to be near you. Now, they may not come right out and say, "Hey, I just want to be around you all the time," because that's way too obvious and, let's be honest, terrifying for most people to admit. But instead, they'll find subtle, almost unnoticeable ways to be in your orbit. They sit next to you when there are other open seats. They linger a little longer in the room after a group conversation ends. They volunteer to help with something you're doing, even if they have no real reason to. Or maybe they somehow always end up in the hallway you're walking down, or show up to the same events coincidentally. These things may seem small, even insignificant, but when someone likes you, physical closeness becomes emotionally meaningful. And here's why this matters. People gravitate toward what they value. And when someone likes you, simply being near you gives them a certain kind of joy. Even if nothing big is happening, it's like they just want to absorb your presence, to be close enough to catch your laugh, see your facial expressions, or brush shoulders in a way that feels totally accidental but actually means everything to them. And there's also this tension, this unspoken pull that often exists when someone's crushing hard. They may not be ready to pour their heart out, but their behavior starts leaking how they feel. So they find reasons to close the physical distance. They stand next to you in a group photo. They position themselves across from you at the table so they can make eye contact. They walk beside you instead of ahead of you. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's there. And it's beautiful, really, because it's one of the few signs that feels deeply instinctive. We all want to be near the people we care about. So if you notice someone finding little ways to enter your space, not in a creepy way, but gently with warmth and presence, that's not random. That's someone who likes you. And sometimes the best love stories begin not with grand declarations, but with a quiet, consistent desire just to be a little closer. To wrap things up, these signs are the subtle, beautiful signals that someone has deeper feelings for you than just a passing attraction. They're not always loud or obvious, but when you look closely, you'll see how someone's body language, and their actions, and their genuine curiosity toward you speak volumes. If you're noticing a few all of these signs in your crush, it's a pretty strong indication that they feel the same way. But here's the important part. Don't just wait for them to make the first move. If you're picking up on these signs, don't be afraid to mirror the behavior. Get curious about their life. Make time for them. Keep the conversation going. And most importantly, give yourself permission to be vulnerable and present. Relationships take two people who are willing to put in the effort, and a little courage can go a long way. So now it's up to you. Take a step forward. See where these signals lead. Embrace the potential of what's unfolding, whether it's a deeper connection or the beginning of something even more beautiful. After all, the best relationships start when two people take a chance on each other. And trust me, you'll never know what could be unless you allow yourself to dive in. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs with your crush? Drop a comment and share your story. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's see how we can continue to navigate this exciting world of dating and relationships together.